who don't know the story, let me give just a brief recap. Approximately 5-6 years ago, I was in a car accident. Through the car accident and through part of my therapy, they gave me a very powerful drug to help stimulate my brain into healing. And I overdosed on the drug, and I went through what would be considered spiritual death. There are two types of death: spiritual, and then there's the soul's death. And once the soul dies, very seldom does a soul ever decide to come back. I went through spiritual death, watched what was happening as they worked on me to try to revive me, watched the paramedics and everybody work on me down at the hospital, and was asked at that moment by my group, do you want to come back? And I agreed to come back and teach with the understanding that I would have help to help teach what I had been taught. And lo and behold, into my life walks my wonderful wife, who happens to also be a channel. And she had been instructed by my group to help me to teach, and that we had done this many lifetimes before, and that we would do it for many lifetimes again. The group of entities that we channel and we bring to you is different in the fact that we're a high energy, higher group of entities. We operate on a much higher frequency than a lot of people understand. This world is on such a low, slow frequency. That's why we have matter. That's why things matter to us in our life, because of the frequency is so slow here. If we were to, you can't see my group, you can only feel them. And through our communication, you will definitely see through the communication, once my group starts talking, you will soon see the transformation. You'll recognize the transformation almost immediately. And for those of you who have had the opportunity to see us at work, for those of you who have been granted the opportunity of witnessing what we do, then you can see that what we do is different. And the teachings that we give people are different. Initially,
it would be a fairly intense experience. In fact, when they would start talking and they would just continue and continue and continue, and when they would leave, my body was exhausted. I'd get sick afterwards, and migraine headache that I've never had before in my life, ever. Just housing that intense energy was a process, for my body to get used to. In fact, we thought at one point that might be a problem, that we might not be able to do this in front of people, because
it was too intense.
Yeah, the sanctity of being at home, where you can take a break and go in and refresh yourself and things like that, is completely different than on stage. But over time, I would say over about the first 1.5 to 2 year period, I got more used to it.
Well, we started picking up. The biggest draw was that we really started recognizing that there was a little bit, somewhat of a change, was more and more public places that we went to. We would get into a conversation and it would be hours before we would get out. And it was, oh, well, geez, we were only there 5 or 10 minutes, weren't we?
Yeah.
And it was hours.
Yeah, so Brad was starting to notice that they were coming through more readily. You know, anytime, almost as if somebody was just asking a question, I would kind of initiate an answer, and he said you could just kind of tell when that changed. But to answer you as far as what the phenomenon feels like, honestly, it doesn't feel like much of anything. A consciousness. I used to be completely blacked out from any memory of it at all. Now, as I listen back to the recordings, as I'm listening, I'm thinking, yes, I remember that. Yes, I remember that. As if somebody had told that to me at one time in my life. So it did sound familiar to me. So there is an allowance from them, I think, for me to be absorbing, obviously, what's coming through. But there's, I guess logically it wouldn't make sense that, you know, 2 spirits could stay, you know, within the same body. So I think, as best as I can describe it, I think I gently get nudged out of the way, and they gently come in. Their energy and mine obviously matches pretty well at this point. In fact, last night, I was, you know, perfectly okay last night. Normally I'm a little bit whooped, so I'm getting better and better at it. But I wouldn't say that I feel a physical sensation. When they're talking to me, though, people ask me, are they talking to you? No. It's not a vocal communication. More than anything, it's a visual communication. They're showing me things. And then I have to try to dialect, to the best of my ability and the best of my education, what it is that I'm seeing. And so, unfortunately, I do know that things get lost in translation. I can only do the best that I can to explain what it is that I'm seeing, especially when they're showing me multitudes of possibilities at the same time. And there
I'm
was a
actually
time
seeing exactly what she's seeing.
Yeah.
At the same time she's seeing it.
Because there have been times when I've channeled and I can't think of what I'm trying to say, and I'll look at Brad and I'll say, give me some words, and he'll kind of,
and I'll know what it is that they're trying to bring across, because I'm literally living the experience also. But what I'm also experiencing is I'm picking up on the feedback of people in the audience and how that fits into what we're trying to present to them. And so if we're on a discussion that is just over the top of everybody, then it's up to me to get it back down to everybody's understanding. So I'm kind of shown both sides of the phenomenon that's going on, and I just let her do what she does, and then if we've got to change what we're talking about, then I'll just literally say something and
shift them out.
Let's go back and start over here and start all over again. And
the three-dimensional realm in which you walk, in which you play, in which you manifest and create, is a plane of energy, very, very slowed down. In ultimate reality, instantaneous experience exists. In ultimate reality, you come from. In ultimate reality, you step forth and create. The creation process is as such. Source is thought. Source is pure thought. Source existed at a time when it did not think of itself, it just had knowing of itself. And then it thought and attached contemplation to thought. Contemplation is the process of adding emotion to a thought process. Emotion to a thought process sets it in motion. Contemplative thought. Contemplative thought is thought slowed down, energy added to it, and in a continual process of slowing itself down, light appears. Light is attracted to a slowed down version of contemplative thought. You are light. You are light beings. You have come forth from thought. You have come forth from contemplative thought. And in each of those 3 steps, you spent eons. You spent eons in the knowing of yourself in those 3 possibilities of expansion into infinite possibility.